This is the going to be the sort of the introductory video to the documentary series that we'll be developing here, known as Adventures in the Library. And if you saw in the introductory, I began reading from the dictionary, looking up the term moron. So I'm going to continue that here now, because this is actually how you develop your library skills. Particularly if you go find old dictionaries and stuff like that, and you go and start looking up terms and seeing what they mean, you can then have a better idea of how people thought back when they did not. Gets you more into trying to find the hidden information that's in each book about the reality that either inspired the book or the book was based on. And this is no exception when it comes to Harry Potter. Harry Potter, as I mentioned before, was not originally written by J.K. Rowling's, but by somebody else. And I'm not going to necessarily give this person the credit yet, because I want to see if he actually wrote the first stuff on Harry Potter, or did he find the name Harry Potter in someplace else and begin to work with this Harry Potter, because he references two Harry Potters. There's a Harry Potter Jr. and there's a Harry Potter Sr. It's Harry Potter Jr. that becomes the wizard in the first one, and it's this Harry Potter Jr. that sort of that continues on with this legacy that we see in the current Harry Potter. So I looked up the term moron, and as I said, it's a noun. And you look at it, it came from the Greek, and it had its thing that says moros or moros. If you use the standard English pronunciation, it's moros. And if you use the Greek pronunciation, it's moros, because the R is rolled. And the interesting part here is that there is a definition of moros. I'm going to try to see if I can find it here. Yeah, they have it, but they spell it with a M-O-R-O-S-E, and it means to be peevish, fretful, fastidious, and it is gloomy, sullen, surly. So they have a number of, and the thing is, you could even extend it to the term foolish, which would bring you into the Greek definition and connect it to moron. But the definitions in moron that they had, where they said it basically they gave you an intelligence quotient as to where it was equal or less, or sort of in terms of a range from 50 to 75 on the intelligence quotient. And at this point in time, if you look back in the 1960s and do a little bit of study on what they thought of IQ, and you'd find that these terms is during a period where IQ was extremely important, and it could determine whether or not you were allowed to sort of live on your own or you had to be institutionalized. And back at this time, people who were not considered to be able to look after themselves. And this is why they give them the definition between equal to inferior, equal or inferior to a child between 8 and 12. So many people who were treated as such had to have somebody somebody to look after them, had to have somebody to take care of them, because they weren't able to manage their own money, they weren't able to manage their own finances. Ironically, this is the way women were thought of. Women weren't thought of being able or capable of handling finances. So this was all part of the suffrage movement here. If you watch some of the suffrage movement, watch some of the old movies that talk about the suffrage movement. One of the issues is how they end up treating women like children. And they say, but if you go further into this, they say moron is the highest classification of mental deficiency above imbecile and idiot. So we have to go to those two ones now. So we go from there, from this to imbecile and idiot, to see what these are. Let's see. HIMB. Here we go, imbecile. And this is an adjective. So before moron was a thing, right? And now this is an adjective. So this describes somebody. It's the way it's a descriptive term. So if you say someone is imbecile, it's from the Latin, and it means feeble and weak. And actually, this is the way women were thought of in terms of before the suffrage movement. It means it says of showing feeble intellect, mentally deficient, very foolish or stupid, a mentally deficient person with an intelligent quotient ranging from 25 to 50, a person equal to a child between the ages of 3 and 8 years old. Imbecile is the second lowest classification of mental deficiency, above idiot. Right, but this is also says below moron. So we're going to go to idiot now to see what it says, and we're going to sort of following this sort of trail here. Here we go. Idiot. And again, comes from the Latin, and then from the Latin, the Latin comes from the Greek. It says one without professional knowledge, ignorant and common person. So it says, and so it's not as bad as it's used in the Western terms, but it's still fairly bad. A mentally deficient person with an intellectual quotient of less than 25. Person mentally equal to or inferior. Let's see here. Person mentally equal or inferior to a child 2 years old. Yeah, 2 years old. So basically, they consider this person to have the mental capacity of a 2-year-old. So that's pretty bad. And so it's basically both idiots and imbeciles would be considered to be they wouldn't be allowed to live on their own. They'd have to be institutionalized. Many of them in the 1930s, if you want to look into the sterilization programs, that's where you'd have to go next for this. You'd have to look into the history of psychiatry in order to go in to see a little bit more on what was actually done to these people. And it gets you into a large chunk of history. And when you see what was done, you can now bring it forward to the Hunger Games and understand where the Hunger Games, which is essentially our Orwellian, picks its dynamics from. So as you can use the library, and in this case here I have a collection of dictionaries, to really sort of probe the thoughts and minds beyond the actual book itself. So the book becomes not simply a collection of words or a story, but something a lot more. It extends beyond the book into the library and into the annals of history. And this is exactly what we want to do. Is we want to sort of through the library, through our books, explore history. And this is where the documentary is going to take us. And this is what we'll try to do in each documentary. We'll try to take a look in each episode of the documentary. We'll try to take a look at a particular book and try to push through the pages of the book back into history and see what we can find out. As I said, I've already begun the research on Harry Potter. I've traced it back to 1980. Now I've got to work at the 1980s and see if I can push it back any further. Anyways, that's it for now, and this is the beginning of this documentary. There'll be 2 lists for this documentary. There will be the notes, and then there will be the final documentary product, or should I say the series, and that will be in its finished form. So this is going to be in the notes, and the second, the other part will be in the other list, which will eventually contain the full documentary itself, will be empty until the first series is completed. Or not until the first episode is completed. Okay, take it easy.